Robert,
Yes, sir.
to rent or to buy? That is the question.
Well, you lease what depreciates, and you buy what appreciates.
And on this episode of Real Estate Chat with Robert Eid, and
Johnder Perez.
we're going to be talking about this age-old question that home buyers or renters or occupants of real estate have always asked forever. In this article of Financial Post, with changing interest rates comes the age-old question, is it better to rent or to buy? Interesting to point out that with the recent rate cuts, all of a sudden everybody is into this mood of, things are going to cost cheaper because it will slightly, but they've forgotten that money has been cheap for a very long time during 2 years or so ago. But then the question becomes, should you rent or should you buy? Because rents have gone up. According to this article, of course, we're seeing record rents. We're seeing there's even a section on this article about how do you calculate if it's more costly to rent or buy. So real estate chat viewers, make sure you click like and subscribe and you read this article and read about the 5% rule because it'll tell you that. But amidst all this data and verdicts on renting and buying, and you can go through all this stuff, Robert.
Hmm.
Interest rates sure have dropped, so mortgages should be dropping soon, or mortgage payments, if not already, they've started doing that, which also means that investors who own property should be seeing lesser payments slightly. But on the flip side, rents are high, and the amount of money you're paying for rent, all renters watching this, you have to keep in mind you are paying for maybe partial or maybe all, if depending on when your investor, owner, landlord has bought that property, you are paying for a mortgage just indirectly through your rent. And so, Robert, if somebody's watching this right now and they're thinking of renting or buying, knowing what the rents are out there, which is shocking to see how much some of these things are, how should they decide whether to rent or to buy?
Okay, this is very simple. If you have the down payment, let's say the cash required to buy a house that will carry PIT maintenance for maybe 20% more than what it costs to rent that same thing. So let's say $4,000 a month is the rental price, 5,000 a month is what it costs to um, pay PIT maintenance, and you
PIT
have
stands for so
and you
far.
have enough cash to buy that property that you're renting for $4,000 a month, and so the resulting payment will be $5,000 a month. It costs more. Then,
Principal
if you
interest.
have the cash to buy it, you will buy it.
Mhm.
So it means that they don't have the cash, or they can't qualify for a mortgage with that $5,000 um, PITM. But they can get a landlord to agree to rent it to them for $4,000 a month. It's a lender underwrites loans based on the person, their job. They got a bunch of C's, but it boils down to is, do you have credit-worthy character? Do you have a job history that says that you probably will be able to carry? And are you investing at least 20% if the government doesn't, insure your loan, or 5%, 6%, even 10% if the government will insure it, which takes some of the heat off the lender. It's very mercenary, but it's very straightforward. And anybody who, like this article writer, who won't ask the question is, why are you renting if you have the money? And if you could buy, why are you renting? And then they'll find a variety of interests. You'll find people or of opinions. People are saying, well, I believe the market's going to go down. Now, if they're right, then they're right. If they're wrong, well, they've been wrong all along. So one of these times they're going to be right. But you cannot compare the median income in a given town, Victoria, Toronto, Edmonton, to the average price. You cannot make that comparison because there's no such thing as the median income. We know from our friends at Stats Canada that the government looks at the quintiles, the top 20%, second, third, middle, 20%, the second from the bottom, and the bottom 20%. These two, that's even three segments of the market, 60% will never be home buyers. They'll have to move to New Brunswick to be a home buyer because if their job will take them there. So you can only compare what is the average, what is the median of the top two 10, 20% to come up with a ratio between home prices and the salaries of the people who are buying those houses. That anyway, they love to make the comparison of what's the average rent on a two-bedroom apartment increased. Well, there's no such thing. We have not seen apartments built in Toronto since 1965, 1975 that were put up purpose-built. The ones they're putting up now, they were going to be condos, but it turned out to be not economic, so they made them into rentals. Anyway, it's a great question for writing an article. It tantalizes the Toronto Star. I'm too smart for my own good reader. That if you don't have the money, you do not buy a house. If you do have the money, you do have the capacity, you do have the job, you will buy a house because it's much better to live in a neighborhood of homeowners than in a neighborhood of renters. It's much better for your kid, for yourself, for everybody. So why would you do something that's less than good?
Well, I mean, I guess
You
the only
cannot
reasons
do it.
I guess the only reasons for you to rent is if well, if you don't have any
You're
money,
forced to. You're
you're
forced.
you're not sure if you're going to be living in that area. You might be relocated, or you're in a job that constantly relocates you, or you're just not like, yeah, you're not certain about it. So if you've got
Or you're
money,
not able.
or you're not able to, well, yeah, you're not able to, which is all of the check marks that, or lack of check marks of, you have job, you have income, you have down payment, you know where you want to be, you know how to properly manage your budget. I mean, those things, right? Because
Or do you want to live in Clarington? No, I want to live downtown. Oh, well, you got a Clarington budget and you've got a need to live in downtown. It doesn't matter.
well, yeah, I mean, it's got to match up. And you also have these financial, content creators that say, just like, I guess, like, I mean, we won't get into it, but whole life versus term life insurance type arguments, meaning, rent and invest the difference in the stock market and you'll end up being ahead. But why doesn't that work today? I mean, Robert, when you look at just the logic, I mean, if you're a landlord, you'd be stuck with whatever the market rent is in your area, of course. And if you're cash flow negative, you're cash flow negative. But when somebody's paying the rent, they are paying your part of your principal, part of your interest, tax, maintenance, all that
Well, and
stuff.
that's why you want to buy 3 units, something that's got 3 units, because then you've got three sources. You're not relying on one, and probably that's going to come pretty close to covering your net, your total expense.
There you go. Do you still have any questions about rent versus buy? Leave them in the comments. Tell us what you're doing if you're willing to share that. If you're better off renting and you've proven that your finances and lifestyle have proven renting is the best, leave it into comments. And if you own property and you think it's the best and you have a reason why, leave that into the comments as well. Thanks for watching this episode of Real Estate Chat. Make sure you stay tuned. There's lots more juicy real estate chats to come. Take care. Bye for now.
See you later.